I'm Julia Wilburn. I'm the communications manager at Tennessee Craft, and I'm here with Bonnie Matthews, our membership manager. Hey, Bonnie.
Hey.
As we are continually adjusting to life with COVID-19 and the need to move many events to a virtual platform, we thought it would be helpful to create some resources that are specifically geared towards artists.
We've had a lot of questions about how to create a virtual event. So if it is not possible for you to have an event in person that you would normally do, how would you do that? What would that look like? What are some options for platforms that you could use to move your event online? So we wanted to go over some of the main options that are out there that are easily accessible to you. Many of you have been doing things over the years like studio tours, demonstrations. During Tennessee Craft Week, we often have demonstrations that are available to the public. You're bringing people into your physical space. Maybe you're using social media or your electronic communications like email to invite people into your physical space, but now you actually need to move your event into that virtual environment. So we wanted to go over how to do that.
So as Bonnie said, a great time to do this and to move your event online is during Tennessee Craft Week. And this year, Tennessee Craft Week is October the 2nd through 11th. Tennessee Craft Week, if you don't know much about it, is a statewide collection of events that is sponsored and championed by Tennessee Craft. You can visit our website for a little bit more information, tennesseecraft.org, and click on our events tab to learn more about Tennessee Craft Week. But so today, for this first video, we're going to go over 3 of the most popular free online options for live events. And those are widely available, and they're also pretty easy to use. We have linked to an article from Hootsuite in the comments of this video, and it has a plethora of information about different platforms, different options for you. So we highly recommend that you read that as well. And there are lots of other information out there that you can kind of glean and kind of educate yourself about doing a virtual event. There are more robust programs that are available if you are teaching online or if you're charging fees for your virtual events. But like we said, we're just going to talk about the primary free ones that we think might be most beneficial to you.
So the 3 platforms we're going to talk about today are Facebook, Instagram, and Zoom. And probably you're already using at least one, if not all of those, for either your business, for your art making, for your personal life. We'll start with Facebook. It tends to be the social media that a lot of our artists are frequently engaged in. A lot of our members do have Facebook accounts, and we share a lot on our own Facebook page what you're doing and what our events are. I like to tell people, as you think about the different social media platforms that are out there, Facebook is really optimized for community building and for relationships. So I first got on Facebook so I could see my goddaughter's pictures in New York when I moved to Tennessee. I have used Facebook most successfully over the years to build community groups. So those might be support groups, they could be professional groups, art groups, faith-based groups, anything that you have a common purpose with other people. Facebook is really strong for bringing you together in one virtual space. So as you consider your different platforms and how to use them, remember that Facebook is really great for community building and for building relationships. Facebook is also fantastic for events that you've planned in advance. So those could be both in-person and virtual events. So if you know, we always have an art market in the first week of October. Our East chapter has Art in the Valley, for instance. They might know the date of that now and create a Facebook event for that. Art in the Valley could, unfortunately, the way this year has gone, it could become entirely virtual. And Facebook would allow you to pivot that event and to make it an online-only event, something that you could link. But you do have a very robust event management feature in Facebook. So a lot of you have probably been invited to events via Facebook, whether they're live in-person events or online events. And the real advantage of using Facebook is that you have all of these connections. You have your friends, your family, your business associates, and anytime you create an event in Facebook, you invite all of those people who might be interested. And then they can invite their networks. So you have a vast peer-to-peer opportunity to increase the audience of your event exponentially. So that's a real advantage of using Facebook for an event, any type of event. Finally, what I wanted to say about Facebook and using Facebook for your live events is that it's really going to be best for lecture type events. So as we were looking at our different platforms, there are different ways that you could communicate with an audience. And Facebook is going to really be good for what I call lecture, which is you talking to someone, you as an individual presenting to someone. And that is really where Facebook shines for live events.
So the next thing that we want to highlight is Instagram. Instagram is used on a smartphone or a tablet. You can view Instagram on a desktop computer, but you can't use Instagram on a desktop computer. So you do need a smartphone. Instagram is really great for images and image building and building your brand. So if Facebook is about creating community, then Instagram is about kind of drilling down to your brand and what your brand and your art is really about, and sharing pictures, sharing stories in pictures is really what where Instagram thrives for, especially for artists. You can kind of use it as a gallery almost, to show your work, to showcase your work. It's good for a pop-up format, as far as if you are in your studio and you're excited about how a project is going, you can hop on over to Instagram Live, and anyone who's following you will get a notification that you're live, and it's immediate, it's instant. You're able to really kind of capture people when they're online, when they're engaged with you. And so, just for quick pop-ups, Instagram is really the way to go. As far as Bonnie was talking about how Facebook is good for a kind of a lecture format, Instagram is great for an interview format. Instagram Live has a feature where you can talk to another person, and you can see the other person on the screen. And so it's really helpful for that format. Bonnie, do you want to talk about Zoom a little bit?
Yeah. So Zoom, I don't know how many of you guys have used Zoom. It was a completely new platform to me starting in, would you say March? We got online with our March Zoom account in March. So I am love to be with people. I know Julia does too. So the idea of conducting meetings online remotely was never our primary purpose. Now we use Zoom even to just catch up during the week, to touch base about our projects and to actually see the other person. So we still have phone calls, but it is nice to be able to actually communicate with each other in the office. We finished up our retreat recently by showing some of our favorite art pieces, a little show and tell. And so that was something that we could do through the video feature of the Zoom meeting that we couldn't have done in a standard conference call. So in terms of planning for your live events as an artist, Zoom is really going to be best where you are planning an event or a meeting that is going to have a lot of participants and you want them to be able to give you feedback. So they're not just going to be passively watching you, but you want to engage with them somehow. So you want to have a conversation. You want to ask questions and get a lot of feedback. You're working collaboratively with a group of people. Maybe, I know we have like a clay collective here that participates in Tennessee Craft Week. Maybe all 5 or 6 of the artists who are engaging at that point want to get on at once and talk about how they work together, how their work you know, kind of references each other or what's happening in the world. So if you have a lot of participants and you want everybody to be able to participate in the meeting in real time, then Zoom is a great tool for doing that. It's also good if you are producing an event that you would typically have a registration fee for, or you would have some type of monetization of the event. So whereas the other events are just publicly available, if you want to be able to have a paywall, if that would be a standard feature of your live event, then you would want to consider Zoom, because you can control access to people who have paid for the event that way. Zoom doesn't require that your participants have a social media account. So anyone who has an email address that could get the link by text can go onto a website and connect to Zoom. So that is also good, because you know, some people maybe just aren't on Facebook or Instagram. And in terms of the format, so we had a lecture type format for Facebook, you talking to an individual. On Instagram, you can do that, but you could also have an interview. Zoom is more of a classroom format. So if you have, like, think of a seminar. So you've got maybe a leader, you've got a host of the meeting, but you want to be able to have a classroom discussion. And so that's really what Zoom is optimized for.
Some other things that you might want to, that you need to consider when you're planning your virtual events. You want to think about audience interaction and talking with your audience. Do you want to have interaction with your audience? Do you just want to, for instance, on Facebook, do you just want to kind of talk to the camera and just not get any feedback? Just, you know, you're talking to the camera, you're explaining what's happening as, you know, as in a lecture. Is only one speaker planned, or is it just going to be you talking? Do you want to talk with multiple people? There are some considerations there as far as you know, which format or which platform is going to be best for what you're trying to accomplish with your live event. Is a question and answer session important? Zoom is really good with question and answer with the chat feature. People can leave comments on Facebook and Instagram. Sometimes it's hard to filter through those if you're by yourself, if you don't have another moderator who's helping you out. So those are all things that you would want to consider when you're choosing which platform your live event is going to be on.
Another thing to consider are account requirements, and I mentioned this just briefly a moment ago with Zoom. You do not have to have a social media account to use Zoom, but you as a host will have to have a subscription to any of these platforms in order to have your own event. And you typically also have to have an app downloaded either onto your computer or onto your mobile device in order to host the event. So you'll need to consider whatever format you have, you're going to need a subscription to, and you're going to need the app to manage that. Facebook and Zoom you can use on your phone or your computer. Zoom is really great to see on this big screen. If you've got, 15 people there, I'm sure you've all seen pictures of that at this point. Saturday Night Live has done quite a lot of those montages of all the people on the screen. And so you can use Facebook and Zoom on a computer. You would have to have a mobile device or a handheld device, a tablet or phone to do Instagram. So that's something to consider.
So we're going to do 3 more parts to this short video series. And in the videos that are going to follow this one, we're going to talk a little bit about how to set up a live event in each platform. So we're going to go more in depth with Facebook, Instagram, and Zoom in some subsequent videos. And so we hope that you'll watch those as well.
Before we do, we wanted to give you some tips on going live.
We have learned through trial and error.
We are still learning. I bet if we did this a year from now, we would be so much better because we are still learning. But we have some tips, some things that we have learned along the way, and things that we've experienced watching and participating in other live events. So first off, keep your introductions brief. I was in a webinar. I won't say who led it. It was a very prominent group in the art world. And the introductions lasted for 15 minutes for all of the speakers. And I had about 30 minutes for that webinar on that particular day. And I thought, at the end of 15 minutes, I'm not sure if I'm going to continue on. So keep your introductions brief. Be ready to start with your content once you go live. Also, if you are having a technical conversation, so you're showing a technique, you're talking about a process. I mean, it could be anything. You could be really good at writing grants. Our Mid-State Chapter President has been very successful at obtaining grants. And maybe, you want to go online and share with other artists how you do that, breaking that down into manageable steps. So what I recommend is that you break technical discussions down into smaller chunks. You bullet point them somehow. You let people know in advance what are the things you're going to talk about, because the talking nonstop for a long period of time, people just start to get lost.
That's true. Speaking of people getting lost, audience stamina is 30 to 45 minutes. Unless there are a lot of participants speaking. We have learned that in a couple of Tennessee Craft Week calls that we've had, and as Bonnie said, in some other webinars that she and I have participated in. People just kind of droning on. One person kind of droning on doesn't maybe is not as well received as multiple people talking. Simply because it gets boring after a while. So, think about how your audience is going to interact and how long they are going to be interested. Also, look at the camera, not at the participants. It is actually difficult for me right now because I'm looking at my camera, but my screen where Bonnie and myself are reflected is down here. At the bottom, so I keep wanting to look down, but it's kind of that is definitely a learned skill, one that I have not mastered yet.
Yes, this is me looking at myself on the screen.
Yeah, I'm looking at myself.
This is me looking at Julia, and this is me attempting to look at you, my audience, on the camera. And this is me looking at my notes for today's meeting. So I do have to remind myself and find that point at which I'm looking at you because I do want to engage with you as an audience. Along the same lines of how people see you and how they're interacting with what they're seeing on the screen, you don't want to move your camera around too much. So if you're doing, this is going to be particularly valid if you're doing a studio tour or you're showing a collection of work, for instance. And, if you're doing a demo, then maybe you set up, I've got my phone on a little stand like this. So if you're doing a demo, then find something like this where you can keep your camera in a steady place that's hands-free. You don't have to worry about it. But if you are giving a tour, then don't move really rapidly. See, as I move my hands, it's just a blur, and there's a lag and a delay, and that's overwhelming to a viewer. So just try to think about being calm, moving slowly around your space. Speaking, also look something like this allows you. Oh, look, there's Julia reflecting.
There I am reflecting.
Fun. If you are showing work and or showing something that you're demoing, then set up your camera focus on that. Zoom in on what you want your audience to see. This is something I learned way back with the, PBS documentaries, starting with the Shakers. What made the still images come to life in the Burns documentary on the Shakers was that they zoomed in on a chair or a broom, or they panned into a space slowly from the side, and it created life in a place where there is no longer life. And so think about how you can creatively use your Zoom feature and your focus to really portray that artwork in the best positive light to your audience.
Set up your artwork in advance. It's kind of similar to studio photography. You don't want to go live and say, I'm going to take you on a tour of my studio and then have to be looking for the things that you want to showcase. Just take some time beforehand and grab the pieces that you want to highlight. And they don't have to be perfectly set up. They don't have to be perfectly lit. But go in and have them out. Have them there within reach, and make them easily accessible to you. It just makes it easier on you when you're trying to go live and do all of the filming and the talking and all those bits that come with it. Another good tip is to try to remove background noises. You may be able to hear my air conditioner has kicked on a couple of times. And my husband was mowing the yard earlier, and you kind of hear that. So sometimes background noises are just going to be there, but do what you can to minimize the background noise, and you'll have your video will be a lot clearer, your sound will be a lot clearer.
I've got laundry in the dryer, so I closed the door to the laundry room. When we did our virtual fair back in May, I made sure I closed the storm windows on the house. Somebody was trying to charge up a motorcycle right in front of my house, and I thought, oh goodness, this is going to ruin my event that has to happen right at this moment. So
well, sorry to interrupt you. I actually also film my church services, and we've had lawnmowers, we've had a rainstorm. So sometimes you just kind of have to wait for the right moment.
Yeah. Along the same lines, I just got, you can see all of my alerts here. I just got a phone call from the kids' school, maybe letting us know what some of those plans are for the school year. It did not ring out loud because I turned off my alerts on my phone. That's pretty easy. Most people know how to do that. If you're in a performance or an event, you know how to silence your phone. So you can still get alerts, but not have them come out audibly. It may be a little bit harder for you to figure out how to do it on your computer, but especially if you are leading an event on your computer, make sure that you can go down into your settings and turn off your notifications. So in the middle of your event, you're not getting ding, some sort of bell that is trying to alert you to something that you do not want to hear in the middle of your live event. And my final tip is always to have fun. If you would enjoy doing it live, then enjoy doing it online. I love getting online with Julia because we enjoy working together. It's nice to actually see her, whether you choose a format where you're just talking to someone or whether you can see your participants, know that they're out there and they're your supporters. And it's such a pleasure to bring them into your space, to bring them into your event. So just smile, laugh, have fun, and I swear that alone will overcome any errors, any mistakes, anything crazy that flies out of your mouth in the middle of the event. If you're having fun and you're engaging them, it's going to be all right.
Yeah, if you're having fun, that's going to show on camera. Bonnie and I have filmed several things and led several online meetings. We mess up every single time, and that's okay because we're still having a good time. So thank you guys for watching today. Look for parts 2 through 4 of this short video series. They'll be released soon on our YouTube channel, and so we'll get those out on social media and through email. So thanks for watching.